Man, this is better than watching Raw. Actually, anything at this point in professional wrestling is better than Monday Night Raw, or sometimes even SmackDown for that matter. Uh, Last night I wasn't able to give you guys the review of Bound for Glory of 2018. I was going to go ahead and do that, but unfortunately I had no source of a way of watching it without having to pay $39.99. And I didn't particularly want to go ahead and do that because I've spent a lot of money lately over bills and things of that sort, and just fun, entertaining stuff to do over the weekends when I'm not working. But I got a way of watching it tonight on a replay, and I gotta tell you, Bound for Glory was awesome. Was it as good as Slammiversary? Pretty damn close. Slammiversary was pretty much a good show overall. Pretty much every match was great. This show really had a lot of good matches as well. The only thing I really kind of down about is the Ali versus Su Yung matchup, which wasn't even really a match at all if you think about it. It was more along the lines of Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton, the horror match, the House of Horrors match, whatever bullshit that they did once before. But bottom line, guys, this was very good overall. Most of the matches were very decent. John Morrison, known as Johnny Impact in TNA, was fucking awesome last night. He and Morrison, him and whatchamacallit, Austin Aries, these guys need to go at it again. What happened at the end of the match seemed a little awkward. Impact picked up the victory over Austin Aries, and then immediately after he was pinned, he got up and he stormed out of the arena after losing the match, as if he didn't even sell the move or anything. He just pretty much kind of got up and left. I'm just like, what? And then he was giving everyone the bird. And it was really unexplained. They didn't really explain why he was reacting the way he was. Now, granted, going into this matchup, Austin Aries and Johnny Impact were getting some heated personal words with each other on Twitter and also on TMZ. On Twitter, Austin Aries made some derogatory comments to Johnny Impact and his wife, Valkyrie, Valkyrie, and it got really personal. They went on TMZ, and they sold the shit out of this whole matchup, for me at least. I honestly think, for storyline purposes, to make things really interesting, they need to go the route that WWE does with the social media Twitter accounts and actually get really personal to sell storylines. I think that would also help them in getting media attention. This TMZ thing, I think, actually helped them in a way. I was very impressed in how they brawled with each other. Whether it was real or it was supposed to be the way it was supposed to be in the ring, these guys really were looking like they were physically trying to beat the shit out of each other. And not to mention, they gave you everything they had. Johnny Impact, he went ahead and he was going to get attacked from the side of the ring. And he leaped up in the air and was able to put his other leg on top of the fucking barricade for Austin Aries to go between his legs. It looked like something that Kofi Kingston would do at a fucking Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Very impressive shit. These guys went all out on each other, and for whatever reason, there was just downright horrible verbal stuff between the two of these guys, which is kind of sad because they're both very good wrestlers, and they chemistry-wise, they're great in the ring, and I think this was actually the very first time these two guys faced each other, unless they did face each other for the title earlier this year. But other than that, I mean, this matchup was awesome. And it was personal, and it reminded me a lot of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and Don Callis actually mentions that in this matchup, only saying that it's not as it was that the rivalry between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart was less personal than this. I don't think so. These two guys had some backstage issues with each other back in the day in 1997. So I don't know about that, but at the same time, it looks very, very similar, very personal. I mean, nobody was jumping ship to another wrestling company that was going to pay him more money kind of scenario like Bret Hart was in. But this was very personal about Austin Aries' height. And that's what started all this. And Austin Aries kind of went on that on social media, said his spiel. And from there, we got also information of what happened further on past the TMZ interview. We had freaking Austin Aries at Abyss's Hall of Fame ceremony saying, well, you know, I was going to come over here and, you know, apologize for the comments I made. They seemed a little bit out of line. But hey, you know what? This motherfucker had to get on TMZ and make it even more personal than it had to be when I was going to apologize in the first place. And man, did that not go over fucking well either. These guys were calling each other, fuck you, piece of shit. This felt fucking real as hell. And that's what we need in professional wrestling. They need to get rid of the glass ceiling in professional wrestling, especially in WWE if you want to go in that route, because that is the most restricted fucking wrestling promotion in the world. They restrict you on everything. These guys in Impact Wrestling, ROH, New Japan Wrestling, they have no restrictions. They have no limits. That is what needs to be done in professional wrestling for it to be successful. Now, should there be some kind of restriction so we're not insulting or giving bad publicity? Yes, I agree with that. But at the same time, come on, let's be real here. This is grown men performing in the middle of a ring. We need to have adult situations, not fucking kiddie shows. And that's what you get with WWE. You don't get that with Impact Wrestling. You don't get that with freaking Ring of Honor. And you don't get that with New Japan Wrestling. You get real life feeling type authentic shit. Whether it's real or it's scripted the way it's supposed to be given to you on television, it feels more real than a WWE event. Now, granted, WWE has the greatest wrestlers in the world. I'll give them that. But at the end of the day, this matchup alone, right here, displays that this was definitely something that professional wrestling needs to lean towards. A rivalry like this in a storyline setting. I love this. I thought this match was awesome, and it was the main event, and I didn't, it wasn't all just in weeks coming up developing like this. This happened over 1 week of development. Fucking unbelievable. You want to talk about first time ever wrestling matches. WWE likes to say, the first time ever. First time ever for the women. First time ever in a 7-man elimination chamber matchup. First time ever this and first time ever that. Stick your first time ever straight up your ass. This matchup with LAX versus the OGs with King, and then on the LAX side they had Konya in a concrete jungle match. When I first initially thought this, I thought it was going to be one of those same old things that they did outside the arena where they recorded it and they actually had a match and they brawled in the middle of New York City. No siree, Bob. They were actually inside the arena, in the ring, with no protection, no mat, nothing. Boards and metal underneath the boards. The boards didn't even really hold still very well. They were moving all over the place, and they had to be extremely careful for one of them not to fall through it. Not to mention, those falls you take have a little bit of padding to make the landing a little bit more protected. Yeah, there was no protection in this one. This was pure, unadulterated pain at its finest. There was an old saying Jesse the Body Ventura said that I've heard of. Wrestling is like putting your body through pincushions, and if you enjoy putting yourself through pincushions, you can get through wrestling any day of the week. Well, I can put it to you this way. There's a lot more than just pincushions going on in this matchup, ladies and gentlemen. They're landing on fucking pure wood that you would see on your back porch, okay? This was not looking like it was a fun matchup, and it's something I wouldn't even want to be fucking part of. But at the same time, this was innovative. It was dangerous. And it was fucking creative as hell. It was a hardcore match within a unprotected ring. I mean, you can't get any more fucking crazier than that. I really enjoyed it. Now, the only issue I really had with this matchup was the boards kind of moved around. I think that if they had this more figured out with the boards not moving around so much, and it was more like sustained, so that they wouldn't have to hesitate so much and they could move around the ring like they normally would if they had the mat on top of it, I would be cool with it. But that's my only issue with it. The rest of it, though, fucking brutal as shit. What a matchup that was. LAX picks up the victory, walks out victorious, and Kenny King gets pinned for the 1-2-3. Konnan actually made an appearance after he was attacked in a segment. They found him underneath a chair or some kind of shit, and they attacked him. Kenny King was the guy who attacked him, so that was just their way to keep Konnan from having any kind of real involvement in the matchup until the end, so he didn't have to take any bumps during the matchup, since of course he's not in the best of shape to really be in a matchup like this, but they wanted to give him, since he was one of the bigger characters in this storyline, it made a lot of sense to have him in this matchup. They just had to restrict him in the time that he was in it, which is the smart thing that they did. Going into, I'm just kind of jumping all over here. It's no exact order. Tessa Blanchard, she was awesome in this matchup with Taya Valkyrie, Johnny Impact's wife, and they did outstanding. I hope these two women go at it again at the next pay-per-view, which is on January 6th in the Asylum in Nashville, Tennessee. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I may actually get the money to buy this pay-per-view and actually view it on the internet to see how this event turns out. I may go ahead and save some money for this one. But bottom line, guys, this matchup was awesome. Excellent women's matchup. Back and forth action. Not one person you didn't know which one was going to walk away victorious. But at the end of the day, Tessa Blanchard retained her championship. Thank God. Because I think she is the best female wrestler right now in professional wrestling, period. Trying to think here off the top of my head. Oh yeah, Rick Swann and Willie Mack versus Matt Sydal and Ethan Page. This match was a decent opener. This was actually opener of the show. I actually really enjoyed this. Good action, cruiserweight type shit that happened throughout. Willie Mack displayed some really good moves in this matchup, despite the fact of a big, chunky guy that he is. He actually moved around that ring very well, and I was extremely happy with just the opener alone. So nothing too shabby on that one. From there, we'll just go into exact order here. Now that we kind of got the bigger matches out of the way. We also had, trying to think off the top of my head. Oh yeah, Eli Drake. Eli Drake had a funny segment. He is reminding me so much of The Rock. He is got the mouthpiece. He can talk on the mic very well. He doesn't stutter. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't mess up. He flows very smoothly through everything he says. He would not make it in WWE. Not because he's not qualified enough to do it. It's just they would slow him down. They'd stop him from being Eli Drake. They take away his gimmick. Because the way he operates on the mic is just exactly the way The Rock does. And The Rock, the only reason why he's able to operate the way he does on the microphone is because they let him. He gets the special treatment because he became a Hall of Famer, basically. He's not a Hall of Famer yet, but he is a Hall of Famer nonetheless in everybody's eyes. There's no doubt about it. At some point, they're going to put him in a Hall of Fame anyway. I probably wouldn't be surprised they do it this year. But bottom line, he reminds me a lot of The Rock. And he would not make it in WWE just because of the fact he doesn't seem to operate under he doesn't follow any kind of script. He just talks smoothly and reacts with the crowd. He actually talks with the crowd. Whether he's insulting them or not, whether what have you, the crowd is reacting with him the way the crowd did when The Rock was a heel. As he transitioned from a heel to a face, they started singing along with The Rock. Now they're doing the same thing with Eli Drake. They're singing along with him too. And he is just got a great gimmick. I love his slogan, dummy, yeah. And I just love when he talks to the crowd, he acts like he truly believes that people are fucking dumb. In which case, most people, in my opinion, are. That's why when I was younger, I used to love the good guys. I don't like the good guys anymore. I like the bad guys because they speak the truth of what the crowd really are. They're full of idiots. Not all of them are dumb, but most of them that go to these shows are just plain ass dumb fucking people. Now, I want to be a storyline writer someday in professional wrestling. I'm trying to figure out a way to get involved into a smaller wrestling promotion at some point down the line. Wanting to move to Vegas because there's a wrestling company in that area. And I would love to get involved with the company and grow within it and eventually move on to bigger and better things afterwards. So that would be a big dream of mine and something I've wanted to accomplish for a very long time. I've wanted to be a sports broadcaster for professional wrestling. And that's something they qualify people into doing. They actually train them to be a sports broadcaster and stuff like that. And I would love to do something like that. Storyline writing, what have you, creativity out the ass, trying to come up with different variety of stuff that can get people entertained that they've never seen before, that's a little bit more out of the box and different. And this is something that I tonight with the Concrete Jungle match was definitely that. That was whoever came up with that idea, you hit something that may have not been picture perfect of a first time ever matchup, but it was a hell of a fucking try and a hell of a good idea. The only thing, like I said, they need to go back to the tape and watch the boards. They need to actually figure out a way to sustain the boards from moving underneath the wrestlers in the middle of the ring. And they got a match that they could probably use for a second time down the line in the future. So, yeah, I think that was a fucking awesome matchup. Neat concept. Nice try to go out of the box in that situation. I mean, whether it was successful in other people's eyes or not, I don't know. But in my eyes, despite the fact that the board's moving around, it still was a fucking awesome matchup regardless. But going back to Eli Drake, he faced James Ellsworth, the jobber with no chin. And they went back and forth. The crowd was telling him to go fuck off, telling James Ellsworth to fuck off. And he's playing a face character, trying to outdo Eli Drake, and he was totally unsuccessful. He got beat in less than 5 minutes. Then Abyss came out. He had another matchup because Eli Drake couldn't stand the fact that he faced a shitty talent like James Ellsworth. So he wanted a champion, a former a Hall of Famer type caliber wrestler, and Abyss came out and he delivered. Abyss pretty much went ahead. He kind of did some spots here and there, choke slammed Eli Drake through the table, and that was it. And then he walked away victorious over Eli Drake. It was a nice little fun, I guess, last match. Hoorah for Abyss at this point. So good for him. Eli Drake, though, deserved a little bit better. I think Scarlett, this new female character they came up with on Impact, needs to be his manager. I think him playing with her would be fucking incredible. I think they'd make some funny segments together, and they'd have a lot of fun working together, I think. Let's see here. I already talked about Tessa Blanchard and Taya Valkyrie for the Knockouts Championship. The next match after that was Moose and Eddie Edwards. This matchup actually did not have a really good one-on-one matchup that it should have been. They turned it into a tag team match with Tommy Dreamer and Eddie Edwards versus Killer Kross and Moose. And at the end of the day, Moose and Killer Kross picked up the victory. Actually, I don't even fucking remember. That's pretty sad. Please don't kill me, guys, for that, but I guess I'm going to get a thumbs down for that one. Oh, shit. I think it was Moose who lost the matchup, but this match wasn't really all that big of a deal to me. It was entertaining, but it just didn't keep my interest. It was one of the matches I just, it was great. Tommy Dreamer's there, wonderful. We got a hardcore match. We had a really sick, depraved spot where they shared liquid in each other's mouth between Tommy Dreamer and Eddie Edwards. That was really disgusting. But bottom line, guys, I actually did not really follow this match from beginning to end. Didn't really care for the end result of it. It was a very, very much like what you saw with Tommy Dreamer and Eddie Edwards at the Slammiversary, or when Eddie Edwards teamed with Tommy Dreamer and Moose against OVE at Redemption in April. So nothing really to cry home about with this matchup. So bottom line, guys, I mean, this was an entertaining matchup, but I didn't really care for it overall. It really was just entertaining because of the hardcore rules type thing in the matchup and what have you. Let's see here. Another matchup. 6-man tag team. Well, it wasn't a 6-man tag team match. 6-man tornado tag match between OVE, Phoenix, Pentagon Jr., and Brian Cage. Brian Cage picked up his first ever loss. Excuse me, not first ever victory. He was undefeated. He got his first ever loss in this matchup. Now, this idea I agree with. Now, you may say to me, why would you want Brian Cage to have his first loss in a 6-man tag team match? Well, there wasn't much of a choice in the matter. Because here's why. It's time for Sami Callihan, the leader of OVE, to defeat Brian Cage for that X Division Championship. Because at this point, We're not just getting guys that are cruiserweight wrestlers who can do high-flying stunts. We're getting hardcore wrestling and muscle-bound powerlifting wrestling going on for that belt. That belt has really evolved from being a cruiserweight championship belt to being anyone's belt, to be honest with you. And this match, seeing a Brian Cage versus Sami Callihan on January 6th in a hardcore match, or just in a regular match of its own, I think that would probably be better for Sami Callihan. Put him in a one-on-one singles match. No hardcore rule bullshit. Just a straight-up one-on-one match with Brian Cage, and let's see what the guy can do in a regular matchup. I have yet to see this guy do that. He's a great hardcore wrestler. He would have fit very well in ECW if ECW still existed. But the bottom line is, can the guy actually do a really good matchup in a regular matchup without the hardcore rules being involved and giving him that advantage? That's what I'd like to see. Pentagon Jr. did his normal shtick. Phoenix, unbelievable. He did a lot of freaking moves. What's his name? Jake Chris. He actually fucked up. He was trying to do a diamond cutter type of maneuver on Brian Cage. He was too high up, and he just did not jump high enough to connect with that move, and he botched the move, which absolutely sucked. Everybody was screaming, "You fucked up," which was funny as hell. But bottom line is, guys, this matchup was a great match. Brian Cage suffered his first loss, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, everyone benefited from this match. Everyone performed well, worked hard in this match. Awesome, dedicated matchup between all three of these men to close out this storyline that I think should end right now at this point with Bound for Glory. So that's all I have to say on that matchup. Let's see here. What else did I not touch on? I touched on LAX, and the OGs. So that one I'm not going to even have to bother touching. Allie, her matchup with Su Yung, that was the matchup of the night that I hated. It was an absolute fucking joke. But there was a reason behind it, and I know what it was. It was to go ahead and give the ring, give the production crew an opportunity to clean up the ring, get it back together again before the main event with the Impact World title happens. So I get that. But this was just downright ridiculous. We got Allie selling her soul to James Mitchell to go into the undead portal of the world. And we got him fucking saying, well, I promised you I'd get you in, but I didn't promise you I'd get you out. And then Rosemary comes back after a 6-month absence of not being there because of what Su Yung did, burying her inside of a coffin and not returning again. And all kinds of weirded out shit. And I'll tell you the truth, this was some fucking off-the-walls bullshit. That's all I have to say on that subject. She's using an axe. She's putting it through woman after woman after woman. Blood, gore. Like, this is a fucking horror movie? I thought this was professional wrestling, not a fucking cinema movie. Which, by the way, was not even a B+ movie. It was a C for that matter. Jesus Christ. The acting in it was so horrible, not even fucking The Miz could outact these people, which is pretty fucking sad in itself because The Miz is a horrible actor. Jesus Christ. And no, I have not watched any of the Marine movies that starred The Miz in it. Thank you very much. So, yeah. Jesus Christ almighty, man. Whoever thought of this idea, I mean, granted, I like their creativity. I like their attempts and trial and error and trying new and different things. But my God, when you go from the realm of professional wrestling to a cinema type movie setting storyline is just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, fucking retarded. I mean, come on. Get with the fucking program. Now, future thoughts on what I think needs to happen leading up to this January 6th homecoming in the asylum. I think they need to try to do something very interesting. I think they need a multi-man world championship match, like Elimination Chamber type of shit, with the asylum. I think they could go about doing something like that. Having a War Games type of a matchup. Some kind of shit that gets you going, what the fuck, for that world championship. Honestly, they could do kind of like a Hell in a Cell elimination matchup. 4 corners, War Games type match. That's what I would try doing. Have a 4-sided cage with 4 corners of each man in the corners and have it for the world championship. And here's who I would put in it. Of course, Johnny Impact. If Austin Aries is still staying with Impact Wrestling, I don't know what the fuck that ending part that I saw with Austin Aries was or what have you, but that was pretty fucking weird off the walls on its own right. So let me think here. We have Johnny Impact, Austin Aries, I think Eddie Edwards, and Moose. I think that's what we need to have in this world title matchup. I think Eddie Edwards deserves an opportunity for the world championship. I think Moose being in a shitty fucking matchup with Eddie Edwards deserves another opportunity because this matchup really had good story. Going into it, it was betrayal of friends and what have you, going from one friend making friends with the enemy that you was once against, now becoming his friend and his backup. So I thought that was kind of interesting in itself. But bottom line is, guys, I think that would be a great matchup. A 4 corners elimination matchup in a steel cage. With a roof on top of it. You could have weapons on top of the ceiling of the steel cage and whatnot. They could go all out with this. This is something that they've done with the lethal lockdown shit. They could call it lethal lockdown, I guess, without the teams and just have it a fatal 4-way elimination matchup to determine who is the world champion. I think that would be an awesome match. But that's just me. Leave your comments and opinions down below. I recommend to people that they need to start following Impact Wrestling. This is better than Monday Night Raw. I am sorry to tell you guys, but this is far better and superior to Monday Night Raw than you can think of. Granted, they ain't got the money that WWE has, but my God, they got better talent. Well, not better talent, but they got better storyline telling than WWE does. If WWE would just give us a good story to go off of and give us actual acting, serious adult acting where people are actually being themselves instead of being restricted with a glass ceiling over their fucking head, we would actually be interested in the fucking product itself. But because of restrictions, that is why we as wrestling fans should look for alternatives. WWE is not the only game in town, and I'm tired of buying into the fact that that's what I need to accept, that's what I need to take. No. I don't need to sit there and watch a Monday Night Raw after week, being bored out of my mind, complaining about the same gosh darn thing every fucking week, sounding like a broken record. I'd rather come on here and do what I just did here, compliment and provide positive feedback on what I saw, because it was reality, it was positive, it was something entertaining, it kept my interest, it made me want to focus in on it for 3 whole hours, which is what this show did. Raw does not do that for me. Sometimes SmackDown does, but this show on a week-to-week basis of Impact Wrestling keeps my interest every fucking time. NXT, most definitely. If you ain't got good wrestling going on in the show, they give you good storyline telling. They always make up for a flaw that they have within their show. Somewhere along the lines, they always have a way to make up for where they're not doing something. Maybe if they're weak in one area, they're doing something right in another area for that week, for that episode. But they always give you something to grasp onto that you want to be interested in. SmackDown's on and off, back and forth. They're like, 1 minute they're like the rest of the other wrestling brands, and then the next minute they're like Monday Night Raw. Complete other shit. So, it's just hit or miss with SmackDown. I don't mind watching SmackDown. I don't mind giving you guys reviews, but Monday Night Raw I cannot do. Before I went ahead and got on here to give you guys the review of this pay-per-view, they had Kurt Angle dancing with a cowboy hat on and a vacation Hawaiian shirt on, dancing backstage, acting like a buffoon, and being a retard. Kurt Angle is one of the greatest in-ring technician wrestlers in the world. No matter how old he gets, he will always be remembered as a great technician wrestler. And I gotta tell you, it's very disappointing, and it makes me not want to watch WWE, period, for the fact that they make these people look like fucking buffoons when at one point they were one of the greatest wrestlers and would make you entertained off your ass. If you don't believe me, watch the time that Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels built their storyline for the WrestleMania event at WrestleMania 21. Then you'll say, why the fuck are we watching this shit? What are they doing with this program? What the hell is wrong with WWE in itself? This company is absolute shit, and I'm not going to sit there and just be, oh, it's okay, no big deal, I'll watch it and be happy with it. No. I'm going to look for alternatives, and I'm going to give you guys reviews on them. So I don't bore the shit out of you guys with the same rhetoric and same bullshit that I give you every entire week with Monday Night Raw and sometimes SmackDown. At least SmackDown you guys get some positive review. Sometimes you don't. But bottom line, guys, leave your comments and opinions down below. I'll get back to you on that. Hit the like button if you liked the video, and hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching. Have a great night. Bye.